Okay, hello class. So our topic today is about the read module. So I will be demonstrating to you on how to get data from our database and view that in our list view. Okay, so let's start. So let's open the Visual Studio. Okay, so first we have to create a list view. So click list view, then drag. Okay. So all the data from our database will be shown in this list view. And then let's add the button. Okay, button for the show. So let's change the text show, and then change the name of the button. So for example, btn show. Okay, so next is we have to put some codes in our show button. So double click show button. Okay, then next, so let me remove some codes. Okay, so again, double click show button, and then copy and paste the codes of our, it's either delete, save, or update. Copy the codes, copy, and then let's go to our show button code, paste, because we need the database connection. Okay, so we have the database connection, and then we have the query. So we don't need this one, so remove. We'll change the query. Then let's go now to our database. So in our database, click the SQL, and then click select all, and then copy this part, select all from the student table, copy, and then let's go back to our Visual Basic, or Visual Studio should I say, and then paste. So there, so we have select all from the student table, and then next is we have to okay, so let's remove this one message box because we don't need that one, and even this one database connection. And then let's try to create or write a program or write a code that will get the data from our database. So here's the code for retrieving the data from our database. So I will be using a condition and a looping statement. Okay, so this one, so I have here I have a condition here, this one. By the way, I'm using the, my variable is my reader. So let's change the variables. Okay, because I'm using the my reader. For the my reader is the connection that is linked to our query and our database connection. Anyway, we have here a condition: if my reader dot has row, meaning we have a data in our database, then it will execute this part of code. But if in case that there's no data or record in our database, then it will execute this line of code. But let me change the command or code, message box that show no record. Okay, so if in case that there is no record in our database, then it will pop up a message box saying that there is no record in our database. Now, inside our condition here, we have a looping statement. I use a looping statement so that it will get the data from our database one by one. So if you take a look at our database, so let's go to our database. So I have here three records. So I'm using the looping statement while. So it will go for the first record, then go to the next record, then go to the next record until the end of the record or data. Okay, so let's go back to our um, Visual Studio. Yeah. So my reader, then we have a method here, read, so that it will read the data in our database. Then I created an object or a variable LV for the list view items. List view items is used for creating an items in our list view. So take note that in our list view here, it will show the the data or record in our from our database. So let's go back to our code there, and then here we have list view item LV, variable LV, new list view item, and then we have my reader. Then we have here get int32 0 to string. What is get 32 0? 0 means that this is indexed, and the get in 32 is from, let's take a look at our database. Okay, and then click structure there. In our structure, we have three columns. The first column is ID, and take note that the data type of the first column is integer, this one. So let's go back to our Visual Studio. Get in 32. So get in 32 index 0. So meaning in our database, the ID is index 0, okay? The name is index 1, and then the address is index 2. And then the data type of our first column is int 32, I mean int or integer. So that's why in our Visual Studio codes, we have here get in 32 index 0, which is the ID. That is the ID. Then we have here to string, meaning we have to convert the integer to string. Why? Because the default data type of all the objects in our form is a string. So even the text box, buttons, labels, these are the labels, and list view, the default data type is a string. So we need to convert the integer to string so that it will display in our list view. Next is we have here the LV sub items. We have sub items. My reader add get string 1 index 1. What is index 1? So in our database, so let's go to our database. The name is index 1. Okay, the name is index 1. And take note that the name, the string, I mean the data type of the name in our database is a string. So no need to convert. So that's why we have here the command get string indexed 1 name. And then same LV sub items add my reader get string 2, which means this is the address. Okay, so let me repeat. This is index 0, index 1, index 2. Index 0 is for the first column, ID. Index 1 is the second column, name. And then the index 2, which is the address in our database. Okay, so here, this is index 1, ID, index 2, I mean index 0, ID, index 1, name, and index 2 is the address. Then let's go back to our Visual Basic, Visual Studio. Next, let's try to run the program. Click Start. So this is the output there. So this is the output. So when we click the show button, it will show 146. With what is 146? So in our database, uh, the 146, actually this is the ID. Okay, so this one, ID 1, 4, and 6. So our objective should be all the data, even the name and address, should be shown in our list view. So to do that, let's go back to our um, Visual Studio there. Then, okay, so let's try to create an event. I will be demonstrating to you on how to create events, on how to use events. So for the meantime, double click form, this one, double click. So we have here form 1 load. Actually, that is an event. So when you take a look at the design and then at the properties, you can see here this icon. Okay, click this one and then you have these events. For example, click, mouse click, etc. But in our demonstration, we'll be using the form load. So what is a form load? Form 1 load. So form load is used if in case that you want to put some codes or instructions once your form is loaded. So for example here, once the form is loaded, okay, what it will do? Um, let's try to put some codes in there. Okay, so we have here the list view one grid lines. It will show the grid lines, and then we have here the view details, and then these are the column names. So we have the student ID, and then we have the name, and then we have the address. The 150 is the width of the column. So let's try to run the program. Okay, so this is the output there. So once we click the show button, so it will show the data from our database, and then we have columns. So we have the student ID, the name, and then we have the address. Take note, once we run the program, if you will notice, so there, it's already have a column name, student ID, the name, and address, because in our code, because of this form load. So once the your window application is executed, then it will display the column names. So we have the student ID, the name, and then we have the address. The grid lines are the lines. This one, these are the grid lines. And then we have the columns, student ID, name, and address. And then click show, and then it is display. Now, when we click again the show button, it duplicates the record. So in order for to us to solve that one, let's go back to the Visual Studio. Okay, and then um, show button, double click show button. We have to clear the items. So view one, list view one that items that clear, so that it will clear the items and then display again the records from our database. So click start, and this is the output there. So this is the output. So let's try, click show, and then click show again. so it didn't duplicate. So once we click show, it will clear the list view, and then again get the data, retrieve the data from our database, then show that in our list view. So that is how to retrieve the data from our database and then display that in our list view. So thank you for watching. So next, in my next video, I'll be demonstrating on how to put some designs in your form. So see you in my next video.